Welcome to Healing is Hilarious. I'm your host, Rachel LaForce. This is a podcast where personal development meets punchlines. Each week, I'm offering you my own lived experience in diving into topics like self-empowerment, authentic living, and learning how to listen to your inner knowing. Because after all, healing doesn't have to be heavy. It's hilarious. Oof. And just like that, another week. Last week. If you haven't listened to last week, go and listen to last week. Otherwise, this is going to be just a really high vibe rant. You're going to be like, that was an interesting one to catch for the first time. Go back and listen to last week's. I was talking all about the process leading up to delivering this TEDx speech. Now I'm here on the other side, and we got to talk about it. I really always aim for these episodes to be impactful, both for me being able to be the one that delivers it and that this is fun, because if I'm not having fun, what's the point? And then also I want to make sure that you're taking away something. There's so many podcasts I listen to. I'm like, was that just because you didn't have therapy this week? They didn't say anything. They just talked about themselves the whole time. So I'm really going to try to balance the two, but I think there's so much in here that is transformative and valuable for you as well. So let's dive in. You guys know, if you've been listening to the podcast, I've been struggling with panic attacks for a lot. I remember the first time that I had one in college, had no idea what it was. It freaked me out. Didn't have one ever again. I mean, I had since learned that it was panic attack. I knew what it was. We solved the mystery. But then in 2020, I had one. And that was the first one that I remember experiencing. And then they kind of had happened on and off, and then they subsided. And over the last 2 years, specifically in the last year, they have been relentless to where it would make sense when I was sharing it with people. They're like, yeah, that's a panic disorder. You should go and get medication, or you should go and talk to people, or you should. And all of those are great suggestions, and they work for a plethora of people. So there's no shame and or diagnosis. I am a comedian surfing the waves. This is not medical advice. Okay. In case I have to say that, let's remember I have a musical theater degree. Okay. Let's keep it moving. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something going on with hormones, right? So I had my hormones checked, and it's really been difficult for me to drop weight despite eating well and working out and moving my body. And I'm like, man, this doesn't make sense. So I was like, it's got to be hormones. I've had my blood work done. It's not my hormones. My cycle is regular. My bowel movements are regular. My sleep is fairly regular despite having so much going on in my life. So I was like, all right, this is just straight panic. I accept it. I don't know what to do about it, but there's not another way through. And I've talked about this on the podcast before, of the idea of the terror barrier. And it's been taught to me many ways. You could look it up. You can Google it. Maybe you're familiar. But it's basically when your nervous system continually meets a threshold. So our nervous systems are obviously encoded in our DNA. We know that our DNA existed in our grandmothers. So when our grandmothers were birthing our mother, all of the eggs that were of us were in our mothers, that were in our grandmother. That's the most layman way of describing that, right? But we know this to be true. So I know that so much of the fear that my body carries isn't even my own. And I know now that I was like, well, why? I was doing scary things before at other phases of my life, things that could be seen as scary, like giving a TED talk or being on TV, these things, right? I'm like, oh, this didn't even occur to me until after the talk. I was like, I was drinking then. So my nervous system couldn't have a reaction because anytime that it wanted to, I drank, which calmed and or suppressed any of those emotions. Well, and then you're hungover, so it does the exact same thing. So there was never a clearing for my body to be able to express itself. That was how I dealt with those feelings. And obviously not drinking this time and being outside of like binging Top Chef here and there because, you got to decompress somehow. I'm pretty present in my life. I show up fully to everything, whether I like to or not. And it finally occurred to me where I was like, oh, that's what was happening this time and why I was so aware of it. And it was so overwhelming because there was no hiding. And the closer and closer I would get to things, it was just, full blown panic attacks through most of the photo shoots that you've seen. If you've gone to my website, if you follow me on social media, where I'm just like, smiling, eating tacos, here's my coffee, these lifestyle photos, full blown panic attacks, friends. And I'm not bragging about that, but it was almost this probably unconscious pursuit where I was like, whatever is happening, there's no way that this is going to continue forever. I am going to teach my body that I am safe. I am safe to put myself in a position to be seen. I am safe to put myself in a position to feel confident. I'm safe to put myself in a position to fail. I'm safe to fail. I'm safe to fail in front of people. I'm safe to not be the quote unquote expert. I'm safe to put myself in a position where I say I am the expert. Like all of these things that's what my body was responding to. So I share all of this because it was getting more and more intense. And at the same time, I was getting more and more aware of these patterns. So no longer was I like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pass out. I'm going to die. My heart's going to stop. Like I was like, all right, this is just going to happen for now until it doesn't happen anymore. I thought maybe it was a blood sugar thing or I wasn't eating enough. I'm like, no, this is just full blown. This is going to be what it is. So the day comes that it's time for me to give and deliver this TEDx talk. And while yes, TEDx is a big deal, it's also like, it's not the TED stage. I'm not winning a Peabody Award. I'm not solving world peace. So yes, it's important and we want to give it the credit it's due, but also like, let's remember the lesson from last week. It's like, let's bring it down to eye level and then let's bring it to our feet. This is not the end all be all. And so logically, the whole day I knew that, yet my body was having this is something I wouldn't share in a lot of places. Okay. So if you're listening, I'm going to trust you can handle this one. Okay. My body almost felt like it was having, oh, I can't believe she's going to say this, spiritual contractions. I would get I would get so overwhelmed that I could almost feel like the past 7 versions of myself, like sitting on my chest. And I would get where I would get this really deep cry and then it would subside and then it would come back and then it would subside. The entire day. Because also keep in mind for this TEDx day, I'm up at 5 a.m. Caroline, my brand manager, and I are in the car to the studio by 6:15. By 6:45, glam squad's there for hair and makeup. Great. Then it's last looks. Gather everything. Do we have what we need? Then we're in the car. Then we go to Mode X. Then there's photos. Then there's, video. Then there's upstairs. Then people are getting there. Then you got to see people. Then there's the beginning of the presentation. Then the presentation begins. Then it's the first block. Then there's intermission. And then finally, there's the second block where it's my time to talk. So by 5 a.m. all the way up to, I think, 2:15, that was my day of circling through these things and experiencing these things. And it was this thing where it's like, well, I can't really fully give in to everything that my body's experiencing right now because, we still got to get on stage. You know what I mean? The show must go on, baby. Show business through and through. And delivering that talk was outside of delivering both of my boys, literally bringing human life into this reality as we know it, and my awakening that my life is mine back in 2018. This was by far and away the most transformative experience. In the middle of giving this talk, it was both omnipresence and an out-of-body experience where I was so present, and I was also almost like above my body, like so aware of what was happening. And the talk went beautifully. It was so well received. There were applause breaks. People laughed at the parts that I wanted them to laugh at. They were with me, that they were just there. And almost the instant it was over, it was like, again, those spiritual contractions, or all of those feelings that I had, almost just left. And it was like, I didn't need them anymore. They didn't need me to make them safe anymore. It was like, finally, the thing that I had been working towards and wanting to do for so long happened. And my body was like, oh yeah, no, we're still safe. Like, I was in the bathroom before I went on, and Caroline was helping me steam my suit, and I was so out of my body. I'm like smacking my body like this, and I'm like, you're not running from a bear. You're not running from a bear. Everything's okay. You're not running from a bear. Because that's how your body feels. And I know so many of you are listening. You're creative. You're empathic. You are, you're on these journeys. You're sorting all these things out for yourself. So I know that you understand these feelings and the way that they relate to yourself. And not only do I just want to share how proud I am of myself, of sticking through with this process and refusing to back down, because the vision was so clear and my inner power was so clear, but I hadn't had the opportunity yet for it to be fully realized. And you may say, well, Rachel, I mean, you come on this podcast all the time and, you talk about spiritual things or heavy things or whatever, but it's like, I'm still doing it in a vacuum. While I know I'm talking directly to you and wherever you are listening to this right now, ultimately, I'm just in my home office alone talking into a camera. And when I talk about it online, even, I'm doing it in a vacuum. And in 2019, you guys have probably heard me talk about this before, and I did my stand-up the same way I've always done it, and I had this feeling of, like, really realizing that what I was doing was not quite where I wanted to be, and I like completely freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, if you mean to tell me I got sober and I lost my ability to be funny, I swear I'm going to start drinking tomorrow, right? Like, I was like, oh, no, you're not going to take my superpower from me. And that was 2019, so 7 years later, 6.5 years later, whatever it is, I have been growing towards being comfortable to share both the spiritual, the transformative, with the comedic, with the light. Healing is hilarious. And being able to deliver that talk on stage, and it wasn't just the practice of doing it. It was seeing that a room full of strangers, outside of the 6 people that were there to see me, everyone else in that room were there to see people that they loved, that they cared about, and seeing that not only did they see me, but that they were able to see parts of themselves in what I was sharing, that I really was the mirror that I wanted to be, that I believed myself to be, that I really saw the lightning method and what I was delivering as this potentially transformative experience for people, and experiencing in real time, like, holy shit, like, it really is that, like, was monumental. And while I could go on and on about the experience and the pivotal feeling of it and my nervous system and all these things, ultimately what I want to share to you is keep going. Oh, it makes me so emotional. Like, keep going, keep going, keep going. That for the first time, and it'll be an 8-year journey in January. So 7.5 years. That's a second grader, my dude. Like, a 7.5 years of trusting the unseen and trusting this vision for my life and being like, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I know that it's going to work. I know this is this thing. And actively pursuing it in different ways, whether it's on this podcast or in my blog or in speaking or like in my family, all of these things and the ways that I've allowed myself to grow. And you get to those points in your journey where you're like, is it fucking worth it? You're like, is it working? Or you start and you stop, or and hopefully along the way, you have what I define as those lightning moments. You have these moments that are so real that they're enough to keep you going. They're enough to sustain you in between this transformation. Also, to be very clear, I'm not saying I'm healed or that I've got it all figured out, but I am saying that my nervous system finally understood the assignment. That we are safe, that we are worthy, that we are exactly where we are meant to be, that it is okay to identify as both an expert and a student, that my story is worth sharing and so is everyone else's, and being proud of yourself and pursuing what you want on a grand scale is not bragging, and that everyone should talk about what they're good at and what they're excited about doing. And how much this past experience transformed me, I really feel like I was birthing this new version of myself where I'm like, oh, now I feel safe enough. My body knows I'm safe enough to carry everything else through. And life is long, so we'll do this all over again at other points as we do, right? New levels, new devils. But it was ultimately for me this true feeling of like, oh, it works if you work it. And I know that we all know that in different ways, but I know that if this experience was this impactful for me, that it was worth sharing with you of like, maybe this podcast episode can be that lightning moment for you. That you're seeking that sign, you're seeking that reinforcement, that reminder. And so it's like, you know, my joke is always like, call me Ace of Base, baby. I hope you see the sign, you know, like this really, and also if, you know, you were born after 2005, Ace of Base was a band. There's a song called I Saw the Sign. You know, you can look it up. But that our desires really are real. The things that are laid within our heart are there to be realized. And for so many of us, and I still don't know why, and maybe it'll never make sense, that we feel that our path is so much different, that we are carving out this thing that other people don't understand. But what I want you to understand is that so many of us are coming aware of this. You know, sure, it's my algorithm. It shows me what I want to see, but the amount of other teachers, healers, creators, activists, politicians, mothers, fathers, people are waking up. People are doing this work. They are craving this work. So yes, I make fun of the word authenticity. I make fun of the word manifestation. I laugh at a lot of these things, but you know, and yes, there's so much about the wellness industrial complex that is, you know, unfortunate. And yes, there is so much pain that's happening from the alt-right and the weaponization, as I define it, of the Bible, of Jesus, of religion in general. There's all of these awful fucking things that are happening. And they're getting louder and louder because they know that we're getting stronger and stronger. And if there's ever a time that if there's ever a time that we need you, and I think that was the thing for me in experiencing this, again, not to talk about me, but let's talk about me, experiencing being that mirror. And I was like, oh, this whole time I've been so scared because it's like, oh, what are people going to think of me? Being like, bitch, none of this has been about you the whole time. You know, and of course we center it. It's our experience and all the things. I'm not vilifying that. But the reality is like, what is on your heart is laid there for something so much bigger than yourself. And so if you get those places where you can't believe in yourself, or it's too hard, or you can't keep going, can you do it for the other people who need your medicine? Can you do it for the other people who need the reminder that they can keep going? Can you do it for the other people who need to see your work so they can believe in their own? I know that all of us know that it's this collective experience, but we live in a day and age where modern living has made it easier to be separate than to be connected. So all the more reason for us to work on creating a sense of connection. I am so grateful you're here. I'm so grateful to you for following my journey, for believing in me, for your messages. And I know I've said this all season of like, buckle up, baby, because it's about to get real. But it's about to get real. And I am so excited to share more about the lightning method right here on the podcast. I'm going to kind of be walking us through and really starting to teach it and using it as principles that I teach through all of my work. There's so much more that I've been learning and processing through this that I know if it's real for me, it's real for you. And I've also really found that's the way that I teach. What is the thing that's real for me? It's the thing that's real for you. And so, building on all of these things, that excellence is now the standard. Excellence is now the standard that we hold ourselves to. This does not mean days we struggle with our mental health. We thought that check was going to come in. It didn't come through. We thought that person was going to show up for us. They didn't. That's not saying hold ourselves to a standard that is not possible. It's saying that we know that we are worthy of excellence. We know that that's been laid on our heart, and that is what our goal is to achieve. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what we're going to continue to do this entire season. I'm going to help you. We're going to walk through it together. I'm so excited you're here. And I can't wait to hear everything that you're working on and what you're doing. So please, again, I'm real person, real human. Send me a DM, email me, let me know. That's it for May, baby. She's going to go rest. All of my love to you. Gosh, I'm so excited for you. All right. Tune out, tune in. Love you, mean it. Well, I don't know about you, but I sure as hell feel better. Thank you so much for tuning in to Healing is Hilarious. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps me reach more listeners on their healing journeys. Ready to dive deeper? Check out my TEDx talk on YouTube. Just search Rachel LaForce TEDx for more insights and laughs. Until next time, tune out, tune in. Love you, mean it.